Operation Epic Fury.
Tonight, the story out of the White House is not that America is preparing for war. It's that President Donald Trump may already have forced Iran to the table on America's terms. Now let that sink in. Just days ago, the language was all pressure, all power, all options on the table, and now the Trump administration is talking about concessions, compliance, uranium removal, reopening the strait, and a final decision from the Situation Room. That's not the sound of a weak deal, that's the sound of an adversary backing down after getting hit with overwhelming American leverage. And the biggest tell of all, the White House is starting to sound like it believes victory is already in hand. You see, this matters for one reason above all. If President Trump closes this the way his team is signaling, America doesn't just avoid a wider regional conflict, America wins it before it starts. Vice President J.D. Vance says there have been significant progress that Iran is so far negotiating in good faith. Stephen Miller went even further, saying Iran has made significant material and dramatic concessions that would have been impossible only a short time ago. That's the entire ballgame. Not compromise, not concessions, not American retreat. Iranian retreat. And why now? Because President Trump applied pressure that the weak-kneed foreign policy class never had the courage to use. Military dominance, economic strangulation, absolute clarity, no nuclear weapon, and no games in the Strait of Hormuz, and no endless diplomatic theater while Tehran stalls and cheats. The former Obama-Biden approach enriched bad actors and empowered chaos. The Trump administration is doing the opposite. Strength first, results seconds. And a deal only if America gets the trophy items that actually matter. And while we're talking about national security victories, there's another breaking story that America needs to watch very, very closely. This breaking news on America's critical mineral supply chain, the Saga metal story we've been covering, it just got a whole lot stronger. Less than 48 hours ago, Saga Metals released new information suggesting its radar project may be sitting on one of the largest titanium and vanadium systems on the planet. And that matters because the U.S. cannot afford to stay dependent on hostile or unreliable foreign supply chains for strategic materials. Now take note of this because Saga trades as SAGMF in the United States and SAGA in Canada. Now to understand the scale, you need to compare the radar project to China's Panzinhua deposit. That's the Chinese state-linked system. It's valued in the multi-billion-dollar range. It's also responsible for over 40% of global vanadium output. And that's why Saga has just got something even bigger to compete. So check out the in-depth interview with the CEO I did on this topic just a few weekends ago, and check the exclusive briefing that is linked below, but it's only for Next News viewers. You'll find it in the description. Now back to the geopolitical showdown, because what Trump is doing with Iran follows the exact America first logic. Secure the essentials, cut the dependency, and dictate terms from strength. Because here's the part that the media still does not want to admit. The administration is no longer talking like it's guessing. It's talking like it's closing. President Trump has now laid out final terms in public. No nuclear weapon, no tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, removal of mines, destruction of buried enriched material, and no money exchange until further notice. That is a surrender checklist, not a negotiation wish list. And when the president heads to the Situation Room after posting terms like that, he's sending one message to Tehran and to the world. That America is not asking. America is deciding. So let's check in with what the vice president had to say. The U.S. has made significant progress. Here he is on the tarmac in front of Air Force Two.
On Iran, can you give us an update on where these negotiations are, and when do you expect the president to sign this MOU?
Well, I think it's hard to say exactly when or if the president's going to sign the MOU. We're going back and forth on a couple of language points. I do think that we've made a lot of progress here. It's very clear that I think the Iranians, they want a deal, and they want to open the Straits of Hormuz. We want them to open the Straits of Hormuz. There are a couple of issues on the nuclear stuff, the highly enriched stockpile, and also the question of enrichment. So, we're going back and forth with them. We do think they're negotiating, at least so far, in good faith, and we're making some progress. Hopefully we'll continue to make progress. The president will be in a position where he can endorse the agreement, but obviously that's still TBD.
That is still to be determined. Vice President Vance laying out significant progress. At least they're talking in good faith, but nobody in his White House is taking promises at face value. Now Stephen Miller lays out why Iran is suddenly making dramatic concessions after Trump put the regime on its knees. Here he is talking with Jesse Waters.
Well, as you said, President Trump is the one who's going to make that decision, and President Trump alone. He's directly, personally involved in the negotiations, making sure that the results are up to his standards. As you've outlined, Iran has made significant material and dramatic concessions to the United States that would have been impossible only a short time ago because of the military battlefield defeat that they have suffered and the embargo continuing to choke the life out of their economy. But let's understand something else. It's very important to baseline this all on where we are today versus where we started. When Obama signed the Iran nuclear deal, the so-called JCPOA, Iran was on a guaranteed path to a nuclear weapon, to being the dominant power in the region, to being the richest and most militarily threatening nation in the entire Middle East, with the ability to launch ballistic and ultimately nuclear weapons to Europe and eventually the United States. Now, because of President Trump, their economy has been dismantled. Their nuclear program under Operation Midnight Hammer has been obliterated. Their entire defense industrial base has been eradicated. Their navy's at the bottom of the sea. Their air force at the bottom of the sea. Their entire leadership class has been decapitated. It is the most complete, thorough, total military thrashing in the history of armed conflict. 4 weeks and a country decimated to that degree, to that extent, and now here we are at the end of that with Iran putting on the table a complete reopening of the Strait, as has been discussed, and many other concessions that are going to be unveiled in the time to come. But again, there's no deal until there's a deal. Nothing's final till it's final. And President Trump's been clear that he reserves the option now or at any time in the future to do whatever is necessary to defend and protect America's national security. All right.
I love Stephen Miller. I love that guy. I want to have beers with him someday. Here's kind of weird, though. Miller makes the point plain. Iran didn't come to the table out of goodwill. It came crawling after getting hammered. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth is showing the wider message to America's allies: peace through strength is back. Currently holding bilateral meetings with Thailand because America is respected again.
As we know, on this side, Thailand is one of the United States' oldest allies in this region and around the world. And for decades, our military alliance has been an anchor for peace through strength in the Pacific. And as fellow infantrymen, I know you have an extensive military background. We both understand that the strength of any alliance is forged in the field and through training and readiness of our forces. So I'm pleased that we recently.
Hegseth projecting strength abroad, the pressure campaign in Iran getting more concrete by the hour. Peter Doocy reports Trump says U.S. personnel could go into Iran and collect the leftover uranium themselves.
President Trump just got on Air Force One for a quick trip to Arizona for an event that we'll see later on today. He didn't take any questions, but he just told CBS News, he basically explained why it is that he is so confident a deal is about to be closed with the Iranians. He says that they have agreed to let United States, not troops, just somebody from the United States, go in to Iran with some Iranian officials to collect leftover uranium, what he calls the nuclear dust, and then bring it back somewhere to the United States. That has been the key to all of this. The president earlier today disputed a report in Axios that the U.S. might unfreeze $20 billion in Iranian money in exchange for getting them to fork over all this uranium. He says not a dollar will be exchanged in any way. So we will definitely hear more about this once he gets to Arizona. But there's a lot happening, and it is possible that he doesn't want to get ahead of his team who are talking directly to Tehran.
Peter Doocy with the update there, detailing the confidence in the uranium issue. President putting the terms in black and white. His own post spelling out the blockade, the Strait of Hormuz, and the final decision from the Situation Room. Iran must agree they will never have a nuclear weapon or a bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately open. No tolls, no unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, bombs, if any, will be terminated, and we have removed through detonation numerous such mines with our great underwater mine sweepers. Iran will complete the immediate removal of and/or detonate any mines that are left, which will not be many. Ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade, which will now be lifted, may start the process of heading home. Say hello to your wives, husbands, parents, and families from me, your favorite president. So President Trump laying it out there. And we have this from Trump Daily Post. President Trump in the Situation Room as major Iran deal nears completion. Strait of Hormuz set to reopen. No nuclear weapons allowed, and buried nuclear material will be retrieved. Big progress, will be historic.
Right about it with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But their Navy is gone, as I've said 1,000 times. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Witkoff and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. They have. I don't think they have a choice. They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that. Very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it.
So the Iran negotiating on fumes. The White House is making clear the clock is ticking. Fox breaks down the proposed 60-day framework, including Hormuz sanctions and what still has to happen. This from Trump Daily Post. Trump is staying at the White House all weekend as a 60-day Iran peace deal takes shape. Key demands include full reopening of the strait, no nuclear weapons, and uranium disposal.
By Axios, the memo of understanding states shipping will be restored in the Strait of Hormuz without restrictions, and this includes Iran removing mines from the waterway within 30 days. The U.S. would also lift its blockade and some sanctions to allow Iran to sell oil. Iran would also commit to not pursuing a nuclear weapon. It's still unclear, though, what would happen to Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and that's one of the issues that will continue to be hashed out within this 60-day window. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is not ruling out military action if a deal is not reached.
It is a multifaceted agreement, and nothing is going to be on the table until we see the Strait of Hormuz open and the Iranians agree that they have to turn over the highly enriched uranium and that they can't have a nuclear program. But if President Trump doesn't think he can get a peace deal, then kinetic is back.
So this comes as the U.S. continues to squeeze Iran's economy. The Treasury Department has issued new sanctions targeting Iran's military oil trade. And according to Iran state media, Iran says if a draft deal is completed, it would be announced by Pakistani mediators. So one good upside, though, guys, oil prices did drop on the news that a possible ceasefire extension is at hand. And, you know, that will be a relief for a lot of Americans who are hoping that gas prices will come down. Now we'll wait to see if this actually does come into fruition. Holly, Ainsley, and Brian.
Thank you, Maddie.
$94 a barrel. Thank you, Maddie.
Continuing, the report shows there is still one major sticking point, the nuclear material itself. Now we go to the latest from the White House. Trump in the Situation Room with the final terms, front and center.
Gathered with his staff and support to figure out the next steps here. He calls it time for a final determination on whether or not we will see an extension, a 60-day extension to the ceasefire in the war with Iran. And in that time, here's what he wants to see. This is what he has put out on his Truth Social. Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately opened. No tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, bombs, if any, will be terminated. And then he goes on to say, ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade, which will now be lifted, may start the process of heading home. We are awaiting word from the president right now about what happens next. And we'll continue to put more of his posts there on the screen. I want to really stick on one point with my next guest. The president says the enriched material. So this is really the first time that we know of that Iran has potentially been looking at something that they would consider that has their nukes in it. So the enriched material, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust specifically, which is buried deep underground with virtually collapsed mountains caused by our powerful B-2 bomber attack 11 months ago, still sitting on top of it. That nuclear dust will be unearthed by the United States.
Wow. So Trump is just dropped. Oil is flowing to Japan. Recently surged hundreds of thousands of gallons to the region. Iran is causing chaos in the strait with a severe miscalculation. Japan is buying more U.S. oil.
こちらアメリカから来たタンカーです。中東から来る大型タンカーに比べると少し小さく細めの船となっています。
このタンカーはアメリカ産の原油およそ91万バレルを積んでいます。先月22日にテキサス州を出発しました。中東情勢が悪化した。
President Trump posting that to Truth Social. So what does it all really mean? It means the Trump administration appears to believe the hardest part is over. The pressure campaign worked. Iran's navy's crippled, economy in free fall, leverage in Hormuz is collapsing, and its leaders are discussing the one thing they never wanted to discuss on America's terms. What happens to the enriched uranium? That's why this moment is so important. The Strait of Hormuz is the visible trophy, because reopening global shipping shows the world that Iran failed to hold energy markets hostage, but the real red line is the nuclear material. If Tehran gives it up, President Trump can tell the American people he did what the foreign policy failures before him could never, ever do. Force Iran backward without handing them pallets of cash or a path to the bomb. This is why tonight feels a little bit different. The White House is not speaking in the language of panic. It's speaking in the language of enforcement, compliance, and final review. President Trump has shown the formula again. Project overwhelming strength, break the enemy's leverage, and then make peace from a position of dominance. That is America First foreign policy in action. That's the MAGA doctrine. While the old establishment spent years empowering Tehran, President Trump's making it clear the only future Iran gets is one without a nuclear weapon and without control over the strait and without extorting the civilized world. That's a win for the United States, a win for global shipping, and a win for energy stability, and a win for peace through strength. If you agree President Trump has Iran cornered and is about to deliver a historic America First victory, share this report right now, subscribe to the Next News Network, and drop your answer below. Yes or no, should Trump demand total uranium surrender before signing anything? I want to hear from you. Let's have a conversation in the comments below. But before we do, text those two words you see on your screen right there, raw feed, text it to 844-840-4963. That's how you will get secret messages right to your phone from the Next News Network, from me, when the algorithm decides otherwise. And since we're celebrating America 250, I want to celebrate it with you, so make sure you hit the merch shelf below this video and pick up something, and let's celebrate together.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.